What is up, y'all? This Prince J back at it again with a brand new Sparking Zero update. Today's update's a little bit different, not much in terms of imagery, but we have a brand new interview from IGN with Jun Furutani, the producer of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, that just came out yesterday. So I'm going to read through it for you guys. You can go watch it or look at it yourselves on IGN.com if you like. It's still available there fully. But for those of you who would like to listen to your car or anything on the way to work or to the gym, wherever you're going, here it is for you. All right. And I'm also going to give some commentary on it. I'm not just going to, read over the lines just like that. I'm actually going to give you a little bit of commentary on my opinions as well. And here we go. So, can you talk a little bit about what it's like creating a story for something like Dragon Ball that's so long and has so many sequels, movies, battles, and character plot lines? How do you decide what to focus on, what to cut, and what to lightly gloss over? So Jun Furutani responds, says, yeah, so a good way to think about it, this is about the bottom line, which is that this game's a battle game. So in the episode battles that you played earlier, we want to focus on which battles highlighted the characters the best in the story. And obviously the side story stuff you can kind of see in the cutscenes. So I think a better way of thinking about it is more than fully enjoying the story. We want the players to fully enjoy the best battles in the Dragon Ball franchise. And additionally, you can play the episode battles earlier. We didn't really go into the branching maps, but we wanted to also focus on battles that could potentially branch out into different things. What if this guy defeated him instead of losing to him? Like those kinds of battles. So yeah, that is something that we put extra focus on, the branching fights. Let me go down a little bit further. So I actually wanted to touch upon these branches. Can you go into a little detail about how significant those branches actually go? How much of a different game am I playing if I follow one of those branches versus someone who just followed the canonical story of Dragon Ball? This is a really great question because I was kind of wondering about this myself. How far are these variants going to go? Like, we've already seen that Goku can go Super Saiyan 1 during the Vegeta fight after something happens to another character. No spoilers if you haven't seen it or not too much. Probably already did. But yeah, I want to see how far that story goes. Does that mean you can go Super Saiyan like immediately after that on Namek? Like, do you even have to do the whole waiting for, to get healed up and all that stuff that happened to Goku? Like, what's going to happen there? How are they going to continue the story? That's really interesting to see. All right. So Furutani says, so it's a really hard question to answer because depending on which branch we're talking about, it could skew very in a completely different direction. But some branches might just go back to the actual canonical route again. For example, the example he used is very early. If you were to play the Goku episode battles when you fight Raditz, there's some smaller branches that have been there, but it takes you back to the canonical route. And obviously after Raditz is Vegeta, and after Vegeta is Frieza. So yeah, some of them are just blips. I guess some of them kind of take you in a more different, very drastically different direction. And then the interviewer goes on to say, so I know you probably can't say, but I got to ask, through these what if scenarios, is there any chance we could see new fusions born in this game? This is kind of like an out of the blue question, but it was also kind of ties into the old stuff we've seen in the original Budokai games, not even Tenkaichi, Budokai. There were some pretty interesting things that happened if you chose different paths. So Furutani says, very cool question, hard question to answer. We want to leave the ifs and little hidden or until the game is out. That's a weird translation. But basically he's saying he wants to leave that secret until the game comes out. So most likely there's going to be some pretty different fusions than we were expecting in this. I would expect, honestly, the comical ones more so than the cool ones. But maybe there will be a couple cool ones in there as well. There is a Vegeta. If you've played Dragon Ball Heroes, Super Dragon Ball Heroes, Vegeta is the fusion of Vegeta and Trunks, actually. And they might even have a couple different ones in there, hopefully. That'd be cool. All right, next question is I think one of the things that Tenkaichi fans appreciate the most about this series are all the little touches and keen attention to detail. Like some matches have unique dialogue when you start a match between two certain characters, or the fact that Mr. Satan can't fly. Love that. So he uses a jetpack in Tenkaichi 3. Kind of wish they brought that back, to be honest. And they say, are there any small touches meant specifically for big fans of Dragon Ball that you're particularly proud of in this game? I think that's a great question also. So Furutani says, yeah. So one of the things that they paid close attention to is how the characters actually move and the expressions that they have. And going deeper into it, you saw the various different versions of a Goku that were in the game. And depending on which Goku from which Dragon Ball that you're playing, the way his clothes ripped will be completely different, which is super cool. So I don't know. Frieza, I guess, there's a very distinct way when Goku fights Frieza. There was a very distinct way of how his clothes ripped in something more recent like Super. There's a very different way that his clothes ripped there. We all know the iconic uh the beginning of when Goku first got his Super Saiyan form, when Krillin was killed in front of him, and he rages out and he's just wearing the blue undershirt, the blue weighted undershirt with his orange gi pants, and they're a little bit torn up and ripped, but he still got his boots on and he still has his wristbands. So he's not shirtless, but he looks a little bit different from the traditional Goku that we were used to at the time, because we never really had seen him quite like that. We'd seen him like with his shirt ripped, but not like with the actual shirt exposed. So that was pretty cool. And to see him be in this really badass form too, like that we've seen for the first time, like Bruce Lee style, which if you didn't know, that whole look of him looking at the camera and shit, like that was all based on Bruce Lee, man. Bruce Lee was a huge influence on Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, if you don't know that. Anyways, continue the answer. So he says, so yes, very subtle touches like that. It's something that we pay close attention to, but we wanted to keep it as true to the original work as possible. Fantastic. Love that. The other thing is the hair, like hairstyles as well. Subtle differences that the true Dragon Ball fans will notice. You mentioned that depending on the character combinations, they have different conversations, but also if you were to throw certain characters with certain other characters, there's a special action that happens in the game. Oh, that'd be cool. Okay, all right. So they're not saying there won't just be dialogue. There also might be like a specific action or like little cutscene. I think what he might be referring to, if I'm not mistaken, do you remember that very, very first Dragon Ball, official Dragon Ball teaser we got for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero? Not the one that was like, that showed the old Tenkaichi games and then it transitioned real quick. Not the original, like where Goku's doing, going Super Saiyan Blue. There was the second one where we first got like the gameplay. There's a brief moment we see Goku and Vegeta fighting and flying through the mountains really quickly, and they seem to like get into a clash, and then it just cuts to like sparking begins or something like that. I can't remember. Or it was like for the one of the very first trailers. But I think that might be what he's talking about. Unless that scene was for the very end of the game, which is when Goku and Vegeta have their rematch in blue form after they fight a little bit in the regular forms in the same area that they first had their very first fight. So that might be what that's from. Or I really think it could be he might be referring to something like that for these special actions, which is cool, man, because all the little gimmicks and stuff really make a Dragon Ball game even more fun. Okay, next question. Can you talk to me a little bit about the encyclopedia mode and just what made you want to include this in the game? And what's something that you're particularly fond of with regards to it? Furutani says, yeah, so the encyclopedia mode, I guess it may not have been called encyclopedia mode in the past, but there was a mode where Chi-Chi introduces the characters in the previous version. But again, we wanted to kind of power that up, as you saw earlier, with Videl and Bulma as well. So yeah, it's something we felt that it was something the players enjoyed back then, and obviously would continue to enjoy with the newest Sparking Zero. So yeah, that's something we wanted to implement into the game. Really cool. I don't know if you guys remember the encyclopedia. It wasn't, I don't think it was called encyclopedia mode. It was called like Z something. I can't remember. But you could see all like the voice actors, all the profiles for every single character in the game. It was really cool. And you got to see like a full 3D model of them if you wanted to look at it. It was just them doing their fighting stance. And now they've updated that in a large way for the new one. So instead of it just being Chi-Chi kind of sitting there and like some artwork in the background, now you have Chi-Chi, Bulma, and Videl commenting on like every single character that you go on. So every time you pick a character that you want to like learn more about, they'll actually have commentary for even you just picking them, not even just like you don't have to like go in and like read the stuff or anything. It's they comment on what you were doing as the viewer, which is cool. It feels like you're in like an interesting little museum where you get your own like free commentary, which is fun. And in this one, the art is not quite as extravagant or broad as the original one was. This one's a little bit more like kind of got like a, well, I guess it is more broad. It's got like a general kind of space look to it, this menu. The old one kind of looked like it was trying to imitate more of the manga stuff. They still have the small character artwork for Bulma, Vegeta, or not Bulma, Videl, and Chi-Chi, but it's a little bit different looking. But as far as like the way it feels from what I've seen, there's actually, you can see full people playing the game online already. We already know this. It looks great, and it still has the same feel as the old Tenkaichi games. So that's good. I can definitely confirm that. All right, next question. I know you guys announced you're announcing the giant roster of 150 plus characters, but obviously this is an age where there's DLC to keep games going on. Do you have any DLC plans for Sparking Zero? Are they going to be character packs, additional story content, or anything else on the horizon? So in regards to the characters, they have plans to release 3 DLC. We already seen that. They're going to cover Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which is the movie, the second Super movie, and they're going to have characters from Daima. So they're going to split that into 3. All right, so there's 3 packs total from those 2, Dragon Ball Superhero and Daima, split into 3 basic. Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, just so you're gonna have 3 different DLC packs, and they're all gonna have characters from just these 2 series, which is cool because we don't know what's gonna be in Daima. So Daima might have like a huge number of characters. We already know that in just I think just DLC season 1, the 1 pack is like 20 plus characters. So that's a lot for just 1 pack. And we have like 3 of these coming. So that's pretty huge. And we already know that Gamma 1 and 2 are 2 of those characters, or at least for the super pack, superhero. Next question. I know it's thinking maybe too far ahead, but I just want to get your thought on it. But there's a lot of cool characters in Dragon Ball Super manga right now that I think a lot of fans would love to see, definitely. Like Granola and Moro. Like Moro has been one of the most requested since for a long time. Are those characters that are on your radar, or would you like to touch upon characters in the manga that haven't gotten to appear in the anime just yet? And Furutani says, at this point, the short answer is it's difficult for him to talk about these things. I'm sure that's the translator speaking. And so he's like, yeah, yeah, due to various situations, I'm sure you understand. So he couldn't really say anything. I'm pretty sure they're gonna touch upon that because from what I'm seeing, this game is gonna have way over 200 characters. Way over 200. You already have 182 that are confirmed to be in the game already at launch without DLC. Plus, that first DLC is going to have 20 plus characters. That's already 200 characters. And then you have 2 more that have already been confirmed for seasons 2 and 3 DLC. That's huge, dude. And that's just what they have right now. So imagine what they're planning on for later on. And we don't even know. Maybe those other couple of packs that are coming for season 2 and 3, that might be Dragon Ball Super manga. That could be like the entire pack for one of them. That would be huge. Lots of fans will be satisfied. Um, Hopefully we get some stages though, man, because as you're gonna see in a bit. Okay, here we go. Let's just keep going. Uh, the next question is, so let me talk about the stages of Sparking Zero. Do you know about how many will be in the game, and are there any unique elements of them individually? Finally, this question was asked. Thank God somebody actually spoke up. I know the reason they didn't do this was because there was an embargo, but here we go. Here's the answer. As of right now, there's 12 stages in the game. Boo. But also, and that may or may not change in the future. But there's tons of gimmicks per stage. So this was interesting because he's not saying it's just the Tenkaichi area or the Namek area anymore, which is kind of what they were saying before. Now they're kind of broadening this, and it seems like we're going to have more of these little gimmicks in every stage. So I wonder if they actually added some things in that we did not see before, which would be cool. Uh, really, I'm looking forward to playing the game. I haven't seen anything. I don't really watch too much of the playthroughs. But from what I've seen, nobody's really called out anything much more than the tournament arena, the world tournament stage where everybody runs out the arena if you shoot a blast at the stage, and also the planet Namek where it blows up basically and becomes destroyed Namek once you hit the ground with a large blast. All right, so he says, for example, if you're fighting on planet, he means Namek, I'm sure. If you were to use a strong move going down from the sky and you happen to hit the planet, you will see a change into when Frieza is fighting Goku towards the end of that saga. And he's like, pretty sure you recognize what I'm talking about. And another one that we could bring up is the Tenkaichi stage, where we have fans watching from the outside. In the very beginning, you could only really fight in the area where you're supposed to fight. But for example, if somebody were to use that skill that goes into the bleacher, or use a skill that goes into the bleachers, the people who are watching will run away, and then it would kind of effectively expand the stage. So fighters are able to fight in a wider stage as well. And it's actually pretty impressive. I did see a video of somebody actually when they went outside the stage and see how far you could really go. You can go really far, farther than I was thinking. There is a wall that you always hit eventually. It's the invisible wall. And I'm not sure how far you can go up into the sky just yet either. I know you can go very high, but can you go up in the clouds? Don't know just yet. That remains to be seen. So he also says, yeah, another thing, I think I kind of mentioned this to you when you were playing, but you're able to lose sight of your enemy, which I love. And I love that there's a very minimal HUD. You're not always constantly locked onto them, and that's kind of by design. But because if you do a big move and you blast them far away, you're not going to be able to find them right away, especially if you're an android, which is cool because they have no power for keys detection and you can't detect them. So that's in the game. That's all in the game. That's great. I love that they paid attention to that kind of detail like that. So if you're playing as an android character, you could potentially get blasted away. You can kind of sneak up on your enemy and do a sneak attack on them, which is canonical. The androids actually do that against Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z, and they also do it against Piccolo. So yeah, that's another thing that we want you to look out for. And obviously, going back to your question, you were asking about the stages. There's tons of objects on the map. So you could kind of use them to kind of line of sight yourself away from your enemies as well. So that's something we want players to experiment with, and you kind of got a firsthand experience as well. He's just talking to this guy who played the game, not to us necessarily just yet. So moving on, Furutani said adds something to this. He says another thing he wants fans to try out is you know how in Dragon Ball, whether when you're using a skill, when you're charging, you see all this dust fly up in the air. You know how they have the dust and rocks and stuff fly around them when they're charging up their ki. The characters in this show come out of that dust and perform an attack. We've seen it like especially well off the top of my head, the Majin Buu saga where Vegeta and Goku are fighting and Goku or Vegeta knocks Goku into a rock face or a cliff or a cave or something like that. And there's dust all around, and you see Vegeta looking at it, and all of a sudden you see a Kamehameha come out of it, and he has to beam clash with him. I mean, it was like really quick, and it was cool because Vegeta had lost sight of Goku, so they're kind of playing into those kind of gimmicks, which is cool. So that's something they thought on as well. So there's always ways to combat this dust from going up. Oh, that's cool. So you can actually kind of move the dust out the way. You know what's funny? I noticed that in the first demo actually, when Goku was kind of flying around after an attack had been done to him. Whenever he moved, the dust would actually kind of dissipate, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." It actually kind of added a little bit to make it feel more immersive, even though you were just watching the demo. So that's something they've added on. You can also create a wall that makes it harder for the enemy to see you with the dust, which is cool. All right, so that's something they want players to check out also. Now we're going to talk about crossplay. Okay, some people are curious about. Crossplay is something that I don't believe is currently planned for Sparking Zero. If it is, please correct me. But can you talk a little bit about what the challenges are with regards to including crossplay in this game? And is it something that you hope to include post-launch? All right, Furutani says this is one of those touchy subjects that's very difficult for him to explain. The short professional answer is yeah, there's a difficult bit of stuff that we have to go through to get the crossplay to work. And so, yeah, that's where we stand right now. And as your question for about the future, we don't know yet, but yeah. All right. Well, he can't. He has to be the pro in the company's with man right now, so he can't really answer certain questions. Like that sucks though, man. You can't be fully free when you work for people like that. Anyways, next question. Speaking of single player content, you have the episode battle. But what else is there for single players after they complete the campaign? Is there any kind of challenges or rewards awaiting those who want to keep playing Sparking Zero after finishing the story, but maybe they don't want to go online and play with other people? Very nice. Or maybe they can't afford to play online. They don't want to say that though. So Furutani says, one of the features that a player, like you mentioned earlier, would probably partake in the custom battles, which is cool that you can make so many different custom battles, it seems. Lots of variety, over 5,000 lines and lots of poses, stage cards, all that stuff. Really cool. You can make it feel like an episode of the show. So he's like, obviously, that's a mode where people could go in, create their own custom battles, and either share them or play them for themselves. So yeah, you could potentially do what you could potentially do is make a really hard custom battle and try to clear it for yourself. And after that, you could share it. Or maybe if you want to try what other players are making as well, you could go search for what other players have made. They could use these tags that indicate what kind of battle it is. So you could search in the game by tags. That'd be cool. Just you could search up like a specific type of battle. Like if you want to fight battles where you're just future Trunks or something, that'd be something you could do. If you want to fight battles where it's like focused on the Frieza family, you could do that. If you want to fight something that's focused on the androids or Hercule type stuff, or even like the weaker characters, that'd be cool. Very, very cool. So he's like, I mean, there are thousands, but but it is pretty limitless in terms of what you could play after clearing the episode battle. Some of the translation here is kind of funky, but basically what he's saying is that you can make thousands of different types of battles, and the amount of variety feels limitless. So the requirements for uploading a custom battle is that you need to be able to clear it. I think this is cool. So you can't just set impossible demands to the player if you can and upload it and be like, hey guys, try to clear it. But the flip side is like, okay, you have to make a really hard stage, clear it, and it's kind of a way of showing off to other players, like, hey guys, check this out. I made this super crazy custom battle stage. I cleared it. What's up? I like that. That's fun. So I like, okay, that was the end of that article. Once again, you guys can look at it on IGN if you want to read it for yourselves. But that was pretty much the end of the interview here. So it was a good one. Not a whole lot of new info, but some pretty decent info as regards to like certain questions that have been avoided or kind of they weren't really saying too much about that they were kind of avoiding. So I'm really happy that with most of the stuff we have coming to this game. I do wish that we had some more stages. Like they even said we might get a few more in DLC. Seeing what they did with fighters though, man. Fighters had crap stages, dude. Let's be real. Let's be real. Fighters got so boring after a while. The gameplay is great. It's really fun, like gameplay wise, but seeing the same environments over and over in fighting games, especially nowadays, is starting to get really old, dude. I remember the days back in like, the late 90s, early 2000s when I was little, but like I remember these fighting game stages, man, like when they were extravagant and crazy and cool, especially in like 2D games. And now even in the 2D games, except for maybe Mortal Kombat, I think Mortal Kombat is like one of the only fighting games that's current that really definitely puts a lot of work into their stages and they look great and they actually are cool to look at. They're cool to watch, like even as just a spectator. But as far as like Street Fighter, even bro, like it get it's kind of bland. It's like how many times are we gonna have the stage where it's just like, people on a regular street just watching somebody fight in Hong Kong. And they're not even changing like the location. Like I don't mind that it's in the country it's supposed to be in or whoever that character is with. I just want some variety. Like, and I think because we as players, sometimes people just settle for shit, man. And it's not complaining. Like, you have a right as the consumer and as the player to be satisfied with the game. And if the game in the age of DLC and updates that we can constantly get, there's no reason why companies should not feel that they can give you guys an extra stage or an extra, visual upgrade for certain things. And we see stages come out in other games every now and then, extra stages, extra characters, all that stuff. But it always seems to it's fallen very short lately. I don't know if it's just the artist ideas have changed, like because everything's not 2D anymore, man. It's all 3D, and people are still learning new processes. Unreal Engine 5, people are still getting used to things like that. That's another thing. I'm kind of getting a little sick of seeing Unreal Engine 5 everywhere. I like Unreal. I think it's a great platform for people to use. But like I said, man, everything starts to look like it's in Unreal. And even though we want to say like, oh yeah, it's got this different art style or whatever, a lot of the texture mapping and stuff, it all looks the same, bro. Like, and it starts to, no matter how good the art style is, sometimes it all the what is there just bleeds in, and you can see it clearly. So yeah, just a little bit more variety. That's all. And I hope that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero takes that into accountability as well when it comes to stages. Like as far as everything else, the game looks fantastic. The amount of characters, the amount of detail they're putting into every character's like interactions with each other, and even like the stage destruction that we have for the 12 stages that we do have looks fantastic. But I don't know, man, we just $70 and the potential for DLC. Give the people a little bit more. Give them a little bit more stages, man. Because 12 is going to get very old very quickly. But other than that, happy for this game. Looking forward to it. October 11th is almost here. October 8th for some of us. All right. Have fun. Enjoy. Play. Be kind. Do your thing. Be the God you are. Peace.